All of us have been fooled by the 500-mile range of the Tesla Semi. What actually ends the diesel empire is a knockout blow delivered by two lethal numbers, 15 cents per mile and 30 minutes of ultra-fast charging. While the driver steps out of the cabin to drink a cup of coffee, the truck quietly recovers 300 miles of range without losing a single second of productivity, turning dead time into a money-making machine and officially driving the internal combustion engine to extinction. Will the traditional trucking industry realize it has lost the war before every road belongs to electric vehicles? Why is short-haul trucking the first segment to be replaced by the Tesla Semi? The first factor is fuel cost. With diesel prices in California exceeding $7 per gallon, a Class 8 truck averaging about 6 miles per gallon spends more than $1 in fuel for every mile driven. By comparison, the Tesla Semi consumes electricity costing only about 15 cents per mile, roughly 85% lower. That means a truck traveling 100,000 miles per year can save tens of thousands of dollars in energy costs alone. For a fleet of 100 trucks, those savings grow into millions of dollars annually. This gap is large enough to influence the investment decisions of virtually any logistics company. The Tesla Semi also performs best in urban traffic where trucks stop and accelerate repeatedly throughout the day. Diesel trucks continue burning fuel while waiting at loading docks, sitting in traffic jams, or idling at traffic lights. An electric powertrain, on the other hand, consumes almost no energy while stationary. More importantly, every time the truck slows down, the Tesla Semi's regenerative braking system captures kinetic energy and feeds it back into the battery. As a result, routes with frequent stops, which have always been one of diesel trucks' biggest weaknesses, become some of the Tesla Semi's strongest operating environments. Tesla also addresses a major cost that is often overlooked: maintenance. Diesel trucks require regular engine oil changes, oil filter replacements, transmission servicing, DEF fluid refills, DPF cleaning or replacement, turbocharger repairs, and EGR system maintenance. These recurring maintenance items not only increase operating expenses but also keep trucks off the road. The Tesla Semi eliminates nearly all of these systems. In addition, regenerative braking dramatically reduces wear on mechanical brake components, especially on urban delivery routes. When fuel savings and maintenance savings are combined, Tesla says the Semi delivers about 50% lower operating costs per mile in California and nearly 20% lower total cost of ownership across the United States. These economic advantages are no longer shaping Tesla's strategy only in North America. The company has begun laying the foundation for a European rollout by appointing a dedicated business development manager to lead the Tesla Semi launch in France, following a similar hiring initiative in Germany earlier this year. Those moves suggest Tesla is already preparing for a commercial expansion across Europe, with 2027 emerging as the target timeframe. By then, the Semi is expected to combine its 500-mile loaded range with supervised autonomous driving, giving fleet operators another opportunity to improve productivity while reducing operating costs. At the same time, mass production is ramping up at Tesla's dedicated Semi factory near Gigafactory, Nevada, ensuring that manufacturing capacity can support expansion beyond the United States. More importantly, Tesla is no longer relying on projections; it now has real-world operating data. The Tesla Semi fleet has accumulated more than 13.5 million miles, with one truck surpassing 440,000 miles. Even more impressive is its 95% uptime, meaning the trucks remain available for hauling freight almost all the time. Around 75 to 80% of service issues are resolved within 24 hours, while nearly half are fixed in less than 1 hour. For the logistics industry, this is an extremely valuable metric because a truck generates revenue only when it is on the road, not when it is sitting in a repair shop. These numbers explain why companies such as PepsiCo, Walmart, DHL, and Costco have chosen to deploy the Tesla Semi first on regional freight routes. They are not making the switch primarily for environmental reasons. They are responding to the economics. When fuel costs fall by tens of thousands of dollars per truck each year, maintenance expenses drop significantly and fleet uptime reaches 95%. Every Tesla Semi generates more revenue while costing substantially less to operate than a comparable diesel truck. In other words, short-haul trucking is not becoming the first segment to electrify simply because it is easier to deploy electric trucks. It is happening because the Tesla Semi delivers the strongest economic advantage in this market. With energy costs reduced to roughly 15 cents per mile, 95% fleet uptime, and more than 13.5 million real-world miles proving its reliability, Tesla is no longer competing on promises about the future. It is competing with numbers that every fleet manager can calculate directly on a profit and loss statement. What about long-haul trucking? Tesla Semi is already laying the foundation. If short-haul trucking is the first market to transition to electric, does that mean long-haul freight will remain dominated by diesel? Not necessarily. The real question is no longer whether electric trucks can handle long-distance transportation, it is how quickly the remaining infrastructure and operating challenges can be solved. Tesla believes those challenges are temporary, while the long-term economic advantages of electrification are permanent. One of the biggest criticisms of electric trucks has always been charging time. A diesel truck can refuel in minutes and immediately return to the highway, while battery electric trucks must stop to recharge. On the surface, this appears to give diesel an overwhelming advantage for cross-country freight. However, that comparison ignores how commercial trucking actually operates. Under U.S. hours of service regulations, drivers cannot remain behind the wheel indefinitely. Federal law requires commercial drivers to take a 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving and to complete approximately 10 consecutive hours off-duty before beginning another shift. Tesla designed the Semi with these regulations in mind rather than treating them as limitations. Its 1.2 megawatt Megacharger can restore roughly 60 to 70% of the battery's range in about 30 minutes, allowing the truck to recharge while the driver is already taking a legally required break. Instead of creating additional downtime, charging can be integrated into existing operating schedules. Tesla is also expanding the charging infrastructure necessary for long-distance freight. The company plans to deploy 64 Megacharger stations across the United States, including major freight corridors in California and Texas. In partnership with Pilot, North America's largest truck stop operator, Tesla is building charging locations along Interstate 5, Interstate 10, and other high-volume freight routes. By early 2027, Tesla expects 46 Megacharger sites to be operational, creating the backbone of a nationwide commercial charging network. While the infrastructure is still under construction, the strategy is clear. Build chargers where freight actually moves instead of trying to cover every highway simultaneously. Some industry observers believe an even faster solution could eventually emerge: battery swapping. Instead of waiting for a truck to recharge, a depleted battery pack could simply be removed and replaced with a fully charged one in only a few minutes. Several Chinese manufacturers have already demonstrated heavy-duty battery swapping systems capable of completing the entire process in roughly 5 minutes, potentially making the stop even shorter than a conventional diesel refueling break once parking, payment, and fueling time are included. For high-volume freight corridors, battery swapping presents an interesting economic opportunity. Fleets operating fixed routes between major logistics hubs could exchange battery packs at dedicated facilities without waiting for charging. Instead of maximizing charging speed, operators would maximize vehicle utilization by keeping trucks on the road almost continuously. Although Tesla has not announced battery swapping for the Semi, the rapid development of this technology elsewhere demonstrates that the industry's long-term solutions are expanding beyond fast charging alone. Meanwhile, Tesla's manufacturing progress suggests that the company is preparing for demand well beyond today's pilot fleets. Production at the dedicated Tesla Semi factory in Nevada is moving toward an annual capacity of 50,000 trucks, transforming the Semi from a limited demonstration program into a true commercial product. At the same time, competitors are accelerating their own electric truck programs. Volvo has already delivered more than 5,000 electric heavy-duty trucks worldwide, indicating that electrification is no longer an experimental niche but an industry-wide transition. However, the companies benefiting first from this transition are generally the largest fleet operators. Businesses such as PepsiCo, Walmart, DHL, Cisco, and Costco possess the capital needed to invest in new vehicles, build depot charging infrastructure, and negotiate large fleet purchases. They can absorb higher upfront costs because they operate enough trucks for lower operating expenses to generate substantial long-term savings. The situation is very different for small trucking businesses. Independent owner-operators and regional carriers running only a handful of trucks often face much tighter financial constraints. Even if the Tesla Semi offers significantly lower operating costs, the initial purchase price remains a major barrier. Smaller companies typically have less access to financing, lower purchasing power, and fewer opportunities to spread infrastructure investments across a large fleet. For these operators, the financial benefits may be obvious, but the capital required to reach those benefits remains difficult to obtain. This challenge extends beyond individual businesses. If only large corporations can afford electric trucks, the transition risks concentrating even more market power among the biggest logistics companies. Lower fuel costs, reduced maintenance, cleaner air, and higher productivity should not become advantages available exclusively to Fortune 500 fleets. Leasing programs, innovative financing, government incentives, and expanded commercial lending could all play important roles in ensuring that smaller trucking companies can participate in the transition rather than being left behind. Performance, once another major concern, has also become increasingly difficult to criticize. Skeptics questioned whether battery electric trucks could haul heavy loads through steep mountain grades or maintain highway speeds under demanding conditions. Tesla has already demonstrated that the Semi can successfully climb challenging grades such as California's Verde grade while carrying substantial payloads. Unlike diesel engines, which must shift gears to build torque, electric motors deliver maximum torque instantly, allowing the Semi to maintain strong performance even on steep inclines. Perhaps the strongest evidence supporting Tesla's long-term strategy comes from real-world operation rather than engineering specifications. The Tesla Semi fleet has already accumulated more than 13.5 million miles of commercial service, with one truck surpassing 440,000 miles while continuing to operate on its original battery system. Tesla also reports approximately 95% fleet uptime, demonstrating that reliability has become a competitive advantage rather than an unanswered question. These are not laboratory simulations or controlled demonstrations. They are results achieved while hauling freight for paying customers every day. Taken together, these developments suggest that the conversation has fundamentally changed. A few years ago, the debate centered on whether electric heavy-duty trucks were technically possible. Today, the discussion is shifting toward how quickly charging infrastructure can expand, how production can scale, and how smaller carriers can gain access to the same economic advantages already being enjoyed by the largest fleets. Short-haul trucking may be leading the transition because the economics are strongest today, but it is increasingly clear that regional freight is only the first stage of a much larger transformation. As battery technology improves, megacharger deployment accelerates, manufacturing reaches tens of thousands of trucks annually, and new concepts such as battery swapping continue to mature, many of the traditional advantages of diesel will continue to shrink. The future of long-haul trucking will not be determined solely by range. It will be determined by economics, infrastructure, and the ability to keep trucks moving profitably mile after mile.